Good afternoon and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm David Sosa coming to you live from Studio B in USC Annenberg's Media Center.
And I'm Lauren Worley. It's Tuesday, March 10th. On today's show, LAX considers upping outside transportation services, USC gets graded on anti-Semitism, and ICE arrests slow down. All that and more on
From Where We Are. But first, today's headlines.
About 700,000 people were driven out of Lebanon due to Israeli airstrikes, escalating the ongoing Middle East war. Iran also faced multiple airstrikes from Israel and the United States, marking the 11th day of war. An estimated 140 U.S. service members have been injured since the war began, with 8 in severe condition. 7 U.S. service members have died.
More than half of U.S. citizens oppose the ongoing war in Iran, according to polls. Multiple new polls indicate that more than 40% of Americans disapprove of the ongoing conflict. This is in contrast to past conflicts like the Iraq War, which initially had a 76% approval rating.
California's electric vehicle market is expected to see a boost from rising gas prices caused by the Middle East war. A AAA survey done in early 2022 around the start of the Russia-Ukraine war found that 77% of participants cited high gas prices then as a reason as to why they bought an electric vehicle.
Noma, the famed Copenhagen restaurant, has lost some funding for its LA pop-up after several financial sponsors pulled out due to abuse allegations against chef Rene Redzepi, but plans for the pop-up remain in place. Noma's planned 16-week dinner series is slated to open tomorrow in Silver Lake.
A U.S. scientist developing HIV treatment with gene editing technology revealed to Fox LA that she's also moonlighted as a Hollywood consultant. Paula Cannon, a distinguished professor at Keck, told the news outlet that she helped the writers of The Last of Us ground the TV show's virus story outline in real-world science. And those were some of today's headlines.
Come fly with me, let's
With the new automated people mover at LAX, transportation services like Uber and Lyft may get increased fees for flyers traveling in and out. We're here with Terrence Holton, who's on scene at LAX. Terrence, how busy is it looking outside?
Hey guys, well, not really seen any effect of this so far. Lots of people walking by us, lots of people getting into Ubers, getting into Lyfts, nothing so far.
Right. Have you had the chance to talk to anyone? And if so, what are people's reactions to the possible price jump?
Now we've been speaking with passengers for the last hour or so, and to be honest, people were surprised by this. They didn't know that this was even a thing. They seemed shocked that Uber was raising prices again, and Lyft for that matter. They're a little bit surprised and also frustrated. No one seems to really be interested in this new public transportation system that LAX seems to be pushing, as well as they're just kind of frustrated that they're going to have to be paying more unless it's going straight to the drivers.
And then, do you think people are aware of this new LAX automated people mover? What are their reactions to it?
No, Lauren, to be perfectly honest, I'm really not sure they are. Just the way that people are speaking, they'd much rather get in the car and go. This has been, as one woman told us, this is a city made for cars. It is meant to use a car place. You're not supposed to be using public transportation. You're not going to be using this people mover as LAX is. So, no, I'm not sure they will be.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and hope you get back safely.
Get back safe, Terrence. Thank you.
This morning, the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL, released the 2026 Campus Anti-Semitism Report Card, where USC earned an A grade. It's a huge change from the C that the university received last year. Kaylee Iber has more on the story.
The ADL grades 150 colleges and universities around the country on an A to F scale based on several factors, including policy implementation, administrative leadership, incident response, and support for Jewish student life. The report cards were started just 2 years ago in 2024. This came in the aftermath of the October 7th attacks in Israel, campus protests over the conflict in Gaza, and anti-Jewish sentiment that followed, specifically on college campuses. David Englund, the Senior Regional Director of ADL Los Angeles, praised USC for its rating.
USC is among just 23 schools nationwide to receive an A grade in the 2026 report card, so USC should be very proud of that accomplishment.
England noted several factors that increased USC's rating, including the USC Advisory Committee on Jewish Life, student and administrator anti-discrimination training, and research efforts such as the USC Shoah Foundation's Countering Antisemitism Lab.
USC has multi-tiered educational approaches, and it really works with all members of the USC community, from incoming students to senior administrators, to receive anti-Semitism training.
The ADL's investment doesn't stop at a grade.
Our intention is to have an ongoing partnership with the institution, because this isn't about gotcha. This is about helping institutions get better.
England mentioned he hoped the report card would continue to facilitate conversations about Jewish life on campus and help provide active or incoming students and parents with a comparative measurement of Jewish life on campuses. While the ADL works to understand the experience of Jewish students on campus, there might not be anyone who knows it more completely than head rabbi of USC Chabad, Dov Wagner.
So I think there's a lot of effort being made by really every part of the administration to ensure that every student feels welcome and is able to participate fully at USC.
Rabbi Wagner still noted that, despite the A grade, the Jewish experience at USC is not perfect.
We need to constantly be vigilant on improving the response, but even more important than the response to things like that is creating an environment where they can't happen or are less likely to happen in the first place.
The ADL conducted a survey that didn't factor into report card ratings. It found that nearly half of non-Jewish undergraduates surveyed from American colleges across the country reported witnessing anti-Semitism behavior in the past year. It suggests that even at schools that strengthen their policies, Jewish students might still have negative experiences. As both the ADL and Rabbi Wagner cited, change has been positive, but the work is not necessarily finished. For Annenberg Media, I'm Kaylee Iber.
USC Gould School of Law, the Center for the Political Future, and the Open Dialogue Project held an event yesterday called Can You Really Say That? It looked at what is protected under free speech. Mike Splatonis reports.
At the Gould School of Law, the Dean welcomed former ACLU President Nadine Strawson. They spoke about the state of free speech in America, what actually counts as a threat, and they clarified the difference between protected free speech and speech that crosses the line into punishable conduct. First, Strawson clarified the principles of free speech.
One of the biggest misunderstandings people have is that First Amendment free speech law is ridiculously extreme and absolutist, that the principles really make common sense. First of all, government is permitted to restrict the speech that is the most dangerous. Secondly, government is prohibited from imposing the restrictions that are the most dangerous.
But what exactly is the most dangerous speech?
No matter how many of us may loathe and vaguely fear the speech because of its message or its idea, that is never a justification for suppressing it. We have to answer it back, ignore it, refute it, argue with it, whatever strategy we choose to deal with the idea. But short of the emergency, which considers not just the idea of the speech, but again, the overall context posing imminent or actual danger, short of that standard, government should not interfere.
Strawson says it would be a fool's errand to follow certain European countries in which the laws are written out in such detail that they ostensibly eliminate interpretation. But how can students interpret what's in our Constitution and determine what qualifies as free expression?
So hate speech is protected speech. The mere fact that a message might be seen as being hateful or insulting is not a justification for suppressing it. And that's really important because it's a very subjective concept, what is hateful or not.
The front lines of free speech seem to be on college campuses around the country. The First Amendment restricts the government from punishing citizens at public institutions such as universities for what they say. And the dean of the Gould School of Law, Fernita Tolson, encourages students to express themselves.
Students who care about the First Amendment should speak out on issues that they feel are important to them. And I encourage students all the time to exercise their First Amendment rights, because it's not a right that people have globally, right? It exists in some places and not in others. So we're really fortunate here in America to be able to have First Amendment rights. So I encourage students to use them always, regardless of the current political climate that we live in.
As Justice Brandeis said in the landmark 1927 case Whitney versus California, the remedy for the harmful speech is not enforced silence, but rather more speech. For Annenberg Media, I'm Mike Spathanis.
House Republicans kicked off their annual policy retreat yesterday at President Donald Trump's golf course near Miami. One of the biggest things to come out of it, new threats from Trump about future legislation that can make it more difficult for some people to vote. Nicholas Corral has the story.
Trump said he wouldn't sign any new legislation until the Save America Act passes Congress. The Save America Act is one of 3 voter registration bills Congress is considering. They are the SAVE Act, the Save America Act, and the MEGA Act. Diego Andrades is the assistant director of the USC Center for the Political Future. He says,
"Yeah, it'd be dramatic. Right now, states are able to set the time and manner of their elections, so there's sporadic implementation of various policies across the country. This would create a more standard platform. They would also create a much more strict requirement.
All 3 bills would require documents to prove citizenship when registering to vote and when voting. That could impact rural voters, low-income voters, and young people, Andrade said.
The people who typically have passports, white college-educated voters, college-educated voters in general, people that are middle-aged, not necessarily people on the younger or older ends of either of those, because either they haven't gotten a passport or their passport is invalid."
The bills would also heavily restrict who can vote by mail. This could particularly impact college students.
Some of them vote in their hometown, some of them vote in other places that they're affiliated with and are legally able to vote in. But what this means is a lot of college students might not be able to vote. They wouldn't be able to go to an election administrator's office in their point of origin to show their documents. They might not have the documents in the first place.
Other parts of the various bills include creating federal election databases, allowing lawsuits against election officials, and monthly voter roll purges. If passed, the bills could have significant impacts on the 2026 midterm elections. Andrade says the coronavirus pandemic was the last time changes this dramatic were made. The SAVE and Save America Act have already passed the House of Representatives, but both are still waiting for a vote from the Senate. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the bill has 50 votes from Republicans. Politically, any bill needs 60 votes to overcome a filibuster. Andrade says senators, not all of whom are up for re-election this year, may be more willing to push back than were their House counterparts. For Annenberg Media, I'm Nicholas Corral.
I'm David Sosa. We're glad you're with us on From Where We Are.
And I'm Lauren Worley. It's 16 minutes past the hour. Coming up, an update on the ongoing Middle East war.
As promised, we're here with an update on the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. With us is Val Vidal.
Today marks the 11th day of the U.S.-Israel and Iran war. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said today would be the most intense day of strikes in Iran. The attacks were intense, with at least 40 deaths in Tehran alone, and additional casualties in other cities. Since the war started, more than 1,200 people have been wounded, and 1,255 people have been killed, according to Iran's Deputy Health Minister Ali Hafarian. Iran's missiles have struck at least 10 countries since the war began, hitting U.S. and Israel bases, Persian Gulf capitals, oil infrastructure, and civilian areas. They have on and off closed the Strait of Hormuz, a checkpoint through which 1/5 of the world's oil flows, sending prices for oil and gas higher across the globe. Iran says its missiles and drones will target any U.S. vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump says U.S. forces destroyed 10 mine-laying vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, minutes after warning that Iran would face unprecedented consequences if it put ordnance in the crucial waterway. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps rejects U.S. claims that its missile program has been destroyed, saying it is firing projectiles in greater numbers with warheads weighing more than 1 ton. But when might the war end? President Trump has given mixed signals. Yesterday, he told a reporter that the war is very complete and that the U.S. is very ahead of schedule. But since then, he has said that even though he considers the war a major success, the U.S. will take further action. Today, the Israel Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said the war will end when the U.S. and Israel decide it will end. For Anamar Media, I'm Val Vidal.
Today, we'll be deep diving into the Iranian and American conflicts and the many perspectives on the war. Vanya Arkilian has the story.
After the US and Israel attacked Iran, resulting in the death of the country's supreme leader Ali Khamenei, protests and celebrations erupted here in the US. Many of LA's large Persian community took to the streets. Meanwhile, others held demonstrations opposing the war on Iran in front of Los Angeles City Hall. Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Jamal Abdi is the president of the National Iranian American Council. He dives into his perspective on the conflict.
We're in a very difficult moment where it's hard to say there's a solution that can end the war and end the bloodshed.
According to a nationwide poll from the Council, at least half of Iranian Americans oppose the U.S. military action against Iran, compared with a little more than a third who support it. Abdi interprets the split.
Political economy of the Iranian American community is very complicated, and I think it's one where the trend has been very anti-democratic and and illiberal, not able to have multiple viewpoints that can coexist. It's sort of a constant battle.
Iranian Roxana Afshar is a sophomore at Long Beach City College. She lived under the regime in Iran and moved here when she was 20. She says it was especially hard for women living there.
So up till to get my high school diploma, we had to wear a hijab, and we couldn't speak out about it. And if we speak about this and we say that, oh, I don't want to, they would just stop our education, be like, oh, you're not allowed to come to school anymore, or we would receive threats.
Afshar was overjoyed to hear that the former leaders of the Islamic Republic were gone.
I was over the moon, actually everyone, not just me, a lot of Iranian people. We were just so happy, and we were overjoyed, to be honest. Because honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, is this real? Or maybe it's not legit. Is it legit? So I couldn't believe it, because all of us were just so traumatized.
And now she hopes that things finally get better for the people of Iran.
I think the war was only the beginning of things, and it's gonna get better.
Another Iranian named Kiana, who did not want to give her last name, says,
but at the same time, well, no one's happy about war, right? We're all stressed because our immediate family is there, and all wars and everything, they have its own pros and cons and its own errors. So we knew that although US and Israel are attacking special government people, regular people can get killed too. So we're very sad about that, but we're willing to pay the price because what we're going through. So everyone's just so happy.
Mixed with great sadness.
Even right now that US and Israel are bombing everything, they're just killed 500. So, I mean, 2 days and that kind of amount, it's too much. That's why we were like asking everyone, contacting congressmen and women, Canada, Europe, everywhere, saying like act now, even to UN, because we think that what they're doing is very selective. And a lot of us are very offended.
Watching and waiting is the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, dissident in exile. He's the eldest son of the last Shah of Iran, who was overthrown by the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Pahlavi is arguably the most prominent figure in the opposition to the current government.
But first we have to get rid of this regime, right? So the best outcome is we completely get rid of this regime. Everyone's in it. No one left in power from this regime. No one. Not their sons, not their children, not their daughters, no one.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Vanya Arakelian.
The New York Times has reported a dip in immigration arrests last month in major cities, including Los Angeles. It was also reported that the Department of Homeland Security is focusing on conducting more targeted enforcement operations rather than indiscriminate street sweeps. This all comes after the shooting deaths of U.S. citizens Alex Preddy and Renee Good by immigration agents in Minneapolis in January. So, have immigration arrests slowed down in LA? We spoke with Guillermo Torres, the Immigration Program Director at Clergy and Lady United for Economic Justice, who shares what's happening on the ground.
I'm with Guillermo Torres, the Immigration Program Director at Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so a recent New York Times article suggested that immigration arrests have slowed in major cities over the past month following clashes with immigration enforcement officers across the country. How do ICE enforcement patterns in the LA area compare to the overall national trend described in such reports?
We might not be seeing it publicly manifest itself, but the cruelty hasn't stopped. Inhumanity hasn't stopped because I visit immigrants almost every week at detention centers. You know, maybe the cruelty has been moved from the public eye because of the backlash of conscious Americans who are seeing how this administration had continued to say lies of who they were targeting, who they were arresting. You might not see it displayed publicly, but behind the scenes, there continues to be cruelty, inhumanity, arrests of immigrants. There was intentional cruelty so that immigrants could say, you know what, I better not go to my check-in, I better not go to my court because they're going to detain me. And if the detentions are coming down, why are they trying to purchase all these warehouses where immigrants keep dying, where they have the existing prisons have a horrific history of cruelty and inhumanity, lack of medical attention? Why do they continue to purchase these warehouses?
I'm curious about what forms of community resistance you've kind of witnessed in LA against these raids and now, more targeted arrests and detentions that we're seeing in the state and in the city.
I see mothers, children, I mean, young and old, people try to portray them as violent protesters and stuff like that. No, the violence is coming from DHS. The violence is coming from ICE. The violence is coming from Border Patrol. There are people who still respect the due process. There are people who are civil rights lawyers that's the resistance, civil rights attorneys, immigrant rights orgs, labor, faith communities, but ordinary people that have never been part of a resistance, of a nonviolence protest or demonstration. And this is not a time for the Democrats either to be quiet because they also have accountability, and they can't be telling us that, we're going to wait to the midterm elections. Are you kidding me? Immigrants are being massacred. Children are suffering psychologically, emotionally. People are dying in detention centers, and you want to wait to the midterm elections? No, you got to be up front, and you got to be out there and stop acting like a politician. Be real. Same goes for religious leaders. We have to be real. We have to be present. You can't be a religious leader and be disconnected from what's happening out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to speak with me. That was Guillermo Torres at Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. And for Annenberg Media, I'm Anya Motwani.
And that's all the time we have for on today's From Where We Are. Amy Contreras executive produced today's show. Val Vidal produced today's show. We also had help from Sean Spall and Sofia Contreras.
Our audio director is Leslie Berenstein Rojas. Our board operator is Grayson Solomon. Our live stream manager is Kayla Shu. And Derek Renfro composed our theme music.
Catch us live on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News, Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Subscribe to From Where We Are, wherever you are listening right now. Finally, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Annenberg Radio. I'm David Sosa.
And I'm Lauren Worley. From all of us here at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for
From Where We Are.